what the story is about. It's every single human being's high school fantasy come to life. This will be a page turner. I know that for a fact because high school is a page turner.
And it's even recommended by Lesley-Anne Down and Betty White, so you know it's good.
I thought you were
good. Without them. It's good we can stay my last year day on World Navy just for
I want to also say thanks to my father, who's 102 years old, who's sitting here in the front, Bill Weaver. When I started writing this book, I didn't know I was writing a book. I thought it might be a good idea to write some diaries of Ridge Forrester at age 17 for the company website. And about 2 pages in, it took on a life of its own. And I began to think, well, what if he had a crush on his teacher? And what if she had a crush on him? And what if maybe they found out somehow that they were soulmates? And I thought it would be good to start with Ron, because the first chapter is about Lance, the hero of our tale. And it was kind of inspired to begin with by his character. So
the young man began to move, seeming to enjoy the flexing of his muscles as he started to feel them for the first time. The young woman also began to move, enjoying her naked flesh as her hands explored the sensuous roundness of her body. As the globes merged, man and woman embraced in an exquisite tableau of adoration, and the white-hot light enclosed them fully as Lance felt himself straining to continue seeing them well beyond their time of being seen. Now Lance knew it was time to wake up, which he did, with a monstrous erection.
One of the first actors on the show that I shared drafts of the novel with was Lesley Kay. And I think I could honestly say she became my first big fan. And so it seemed appropriate that for her to read the description of the Van Ardens of Beverly Hills, who are Lance's family, and a little bit about Claudia, who is the school teacher, who falls in love with one of her students.
On Claudia's first day in Beverly Hills, she zipped down Rodeo Drive in the red Mazda Miata her father had given her when she had gotten her master's, thinking, I have arrived. Her tape deck was set on repeat for complete immersion in the seductive strains of the Mamas and Papas California Dreamin'. It summed up a romantic notion that a little dark-haired, dark-skinned girl whose parents spoke Spanish at home, a quiet little girl who could never seem to find a comfortable niche in the coldness that was Harbor Point, Michigan, had escaped to America's true heartland, that place where the image makers created what they wanted America to want to be, that glamorous place with possibilities of making it with cars that cost more than your parents' house, and with the hint of vaguely dangerous pleasures for those brave enough to explore them. Yes, Claudia de la Rosa was here to stay.
And I just kind of let the characters take me where the characters wanted to take me. I often thought I knew where the story was going, and I'd really stop and think about it and get into the characters at a particular moment, and they went somewhere else, and then I just kind of followed them.
In her junior year, another oddball named William Potter III began showing up wherever she went. He was sweetly uncomfortable in her presence and always tried to hide behind something whenever she would stumble upon him. She was amused and a little flattered. One day, as he followed her, she slipped behind a post. "Boo!" she shouted, jumping into his path. "Holy shit!" he exclaimed. I'm sorry. About what?" she teased. I don't know, about... He almost said, "about following you," but that would have let her know that he was following her. "About following me," she said with an impish smile. "Well, I guess," was all he could muster. "You want to ask me out or something?" His jaw dropped. and she found it charming. They had a lot in common, and they discovered they liked to kiss. They would sneak off behind the garage to hold each other with lips pressed together, closed. After a few weeks of this, and wondering what all the fuss was about, she decided to take matters into her own hands. William Potter III was wide-eyed as she swiftly unzipped his fly and indeed took matters into her own hands. In an instant, he let out a monstrous groan. Something moist and sticky hit her in the chin, and she screamed like a victim in a horror film, and suddenly the neighborhood was alive with nervous mothers gathering their children in protective grasps and fathers running out the screen doors with baseball bats. After a sprint into the woods and a clandestine trip to the laundry room, Claudia crawled shakily into her bed and thought to herself, never again. Never, never, ever again. Of course, she did it again. Not as disastrously, but not with the grand passion pictured by the great romantic writers either. At least, not yet.
And that's chapter 5. Now, we're going to skip forward to chapter 10 because I wanted to introduce another character. And this is a character who is a young sophomore who is very psychic and is patterned on somebody that many of you in this room know, who's sitting over there. Marco is a sophomore, and he is the sort of, his spirit guides kind of guide Lance and Claudia along this adventure.
Lance sat for a long time thinking about how to describe Marco. How do you adequately depict someone who cuts through to the core of your very being at the moment he meets you, whittles you down to size, and makes you feel good about it? Sometimes they talk in riddles. This is one. You are embarking upon an adventure. Be careful. You can learn much and you can teach much. Do not lead someone up a mountain unless you are willing to risk everything if they fall. What does that mean? Asked Lance. Whatever it means, said Marco, to you. Well, it doesn't mean anything to me. Aren't you supposed to tell me what it's about? Not unless they tell me I can. Lance chose not to write about the abortion in his diary. Instead, he wrote about the questions he asked Marco about his powers, how it worked, and how he got them. He pondered what he'd written. As odd as it sounded when he wrote it, he really thought that there was something to it all and that Marco really was put in his path for a reason. He just couldn't figure out yet what that reason was. All in good time, he thought.
And that's chapter 10.
That's chapter 10.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really, 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 really appreciate this.
The evening was wonderful. Great. I'm really looking forward to reading Ron's book, you know. I mean,
I don't think I could write a bad book, and he's written a really good one. It's very romantic, and it's very erotic, but it's really mystical and fun, too. So
I thought it was wonderful. I'm very proud of Ron for doing this. I think he surprised us with a different side of him.
But to see him in a different light, it wows me.